Hello, this is Oldmanpoole, back again for yet another Modern Masters Draft League. We have a couple of spicy picks right out of that. I do like Desecration Demon quite a bit. I think it's a reasonable first pick, and one of the better threats in the format. I've had the chance to play with it in a couple of previous draft decks, and it's been impressive to me. Just a 6/6 for 4 is pretty strong, and if your opponent can consistently tap it down, they're still losing their creatures over it. So I think it's a pretty easy first pick here. Of note is Seal of Doom's fine, although there are a lot of really big black creatures in the format, so it actually makes the card a little bit worse than it appears, although I think it's still good. That might be the only other thing that's really exciting. And Savage Lands is nice. Tri-Lands, I think, in general are pretty high picks, but not going to keep us away from Desecration Demon here. Okay. I swear these cards are always together in the same pack. They're like probably the two best green uncommons, and they're always next to each other, which is kind of terrifying. Here we have a couple of choices. I do like the Ogre Jailbreaker, which is on color, but it is not as powerful as some of the other things in the pack. We could pick up the Harmonize. It's better than Thornscape and Battle Mage, but is double green. Green, I think, is one of the less good colors in the format, but that also means it's underdrafted on occasion, so it kind of evens out. Chandra's Outrage is a pretty premium removal spell, and I do like black-red as a color in general. I think that the Outrage is going to be the pick here, although maybe I should just take Harmonize. Harmonize is a more powerful card, it's just in a less powerful color. The Uber's Protector is quite good if you end up flickering a lot, or if you're populating, it can end up being kind of an okay high-end threat. I think we will actually take the Harmonize. It's enough higher power level than the Outrage that I think we'll see if green is open. Because if green is quite open, it can end up being pretty good. So here we have a choice between Slave Driver and Sylvan Ranger. Sylvan Ranger works better for kind of the sweet 4 and 5 color decks out in the format. Slave Driver is just a pretty consistent, pretty reasonable late game threat. I think this card is better than it looks, tends to give you a lot of value, and even if they remove it, you're still getting a couple of zombies out of the deal. We have a Verdant Catacombs on Golgari Guildgate, hopefully one of those wheels, we can pick it up. I don't really care all that much which. I guess I probably prefer the Guildgate. I think at this point in the draft I'm going to take a Sylvan Ranger. I think they're a little bit harder to come by than the Grixis Slave Drivers, although I think that it's kind of a close pick as well. And it's shiny. Here we have not tons for us. We could take the Gruul Signet if we think we're going to end up being a 4 or 5 color deck, and it ends up being pretty good for just getting your bigger threats out later. We could take Mystic Genesis, which is powerful, but not really in our colors. I do like it in any control matchup. It ends up being quite good. You can get some pretty big oozes out of them, and the value is pretty good, even if it's just a 3/3 or a 4/4. I think it is between the Gruul, probably just the Gruul Signet, honestly. There's not much black here, which we do have to take note of. We haven't seen tons coming around. But we'll take the Signet here. I think that's got the most upside if we do end up in a large multicolor deck. Absence Pilgrim is pretty good for green here. Taking it over a Gnawing Zombie and Cowering Fear, which are not super exciting cards. I like to have one Cowering Fear in the sideboard, and Gnawing Zombie is definitely a role player in a sacrifice deck, but I don't think it's something you would play ordinarily, maybe against a really aggressive beatdown deck. Although most of the aggressive beatdown decks tend to have a lot of 3/3s, and the Gnawing Zombie does not match up super well against that. We'll take the Absent Pilgrims here. We have a fair amount of fixing right off the bat, so we can maybe afford to take some bigger threats that are off color a little bit more aggressively. Here we got choice between the Cynic Signet, which is also foily, which is definitely a consideration. Or we have the Golgari Rotworm, which is fine but replaceable, kind of late game threat. I don't like playing too many signets in the format unless you really have something you're ramping into, and a lot of times it feels like you don't see those. A lot of times my curves end up at 6 or so, and even beyond that, sometimes they're more like 4 or 5s, with the rotworm being the top end. But I think we will take it over that. We can get more rotworms later on in the pack, I think. Here we're gonna take a jailbreaker. I think there's a fair amount of good red here, which is worth noting. But we're still seeing a little bit of green and black, and I don't really think it's worth jumping ship for any of these cards. I do think the Pyrowild, Battle Rattle Shaman, even the Lancer's been a little bit better than I thought it would be. I think they're all playable in a red deck, but Ogre Jailbreaker's a nice pickup. If we get any gates to go along with it, it's quite good, and sometimes you want it even if you don't have the gates, so. Okay, here we don't have tons. We could take the Dregscape Zombie, which is pretty mediocre, but sometimes we'll make our pick. We could take the Boros Guildgate, but it's completely off color at this point, and I'm not sure we're going to get the cards that really want to make us more than just green-black at this point, even though we have kind of a nice start at our fixing. Probably take the Zombie here. Best card in the pack is probably the Lawkeeper, but I don't think we're really on that path right now. Okay. Here we have a Number Spider, which I like getting one, sometimes even more of in the pack. It's a pretty good value creature. It feels kind of slow, actually, for the format. It feels like a lot of times when I have it, it's not doing quite enough. But against some board states, it's just an all-star. And it's worth noting that if you get the Arachnus Spinner, it is a spider that you can throw webs with it, and that makes it just a little bit more upside as well. Okay. Here we have another Jailbreaker. Probably take that over the Slime Molding, although Slime Molding is a fine card in this deck, especially with a couple of signets going on. The fact that it dies to so much bounce in the format is just rough, and the Jailbreaker's a little bit more resilient. Worth noting that we have absolutely no 3-drops at this point, although we have a bunch of cards that will ramp us into our 3s, so that's probably not the worst thing. I'm going to take the Golgari Guildgate here and be happy with that. I do think Explorer is worth playing in some of the really heavier ramp decks, although we're not ramping into much at this point, and they come around late. I like Coiling Oracle too, but we're not really necessarily in blue. We play any of these cards. I guess we take the Sundering Growth in case we really need a Naturalize effect. Oh, Counter Fear is good. We do like having one of those in the sideboard, like I said. In some decks, it's pretty good. I also kind of like having a Night Terrors in the sideboard, so. Okay. So we're in kind of a green-black value deck right now, which is not my favorite place to be, but it is not bad. Here there are a whole host of good cards. I like the Falconwrath Noble quite a lot, just about every deck. I like Agony Warp a lot. I think Ground Assault is playable. Momentary Blink is really good in the right deck. But I think those all pale in comparison to Domri Raid. I think we'll pick him up and splash him. We've already got a Gruul Signet, which helps out a little bit with that. So I don't think it'll be a real tough splash. And it's pretty good, especially for our kind of creature-based tech. He's probably going to draw us some cards and kill off some stuff with the fight effect. And Planeswalkers in general and limited just tend to be very good value. So pick him up and be happy with the first pickable card. Okay. Here we could take Thraktos Guildgate, which helps us splash for Domri Raid. We could take the Gruul War Chant. I do like that card. It ends up being very good with, say, Jailbreakers. It's maybe worth splashing. It's really, really impressive in some matchups and not as important in some others. I think it is better than the Spider. Probably better than Urban Evolution, although that card can be pretty great too. The draw 3, even at 5 mana. I guess it's kind of a worse Harmonize in a lot of ways, because we don't have anything we're ramping to in this deck. But it's still, the draw 3 ends up being pretty good in this format. Yeah, I'm going to take the War Chant though. I think there's enough upside at this point. Just giving all of our stuff Menace makes it much harder to deal with. Okay. Here we have Abrupt Decay, which is fine and maybe the pick. Vital Splicer's pretty good, but we're heavy on 4s already. Arachnus Web is fine, but only really exciting if we end up with an Arachnus Spinner. Probably take the Abrupt Decay here. We're a little bit light on removal as it is, and this does hit like all the tokens in the format, which can be pretty good, and a fair number of the creatures you care about as well. So I think that's better. I do like Vital Splicer. A little bit of shame to pass it because I'm sure it's not going to come around, but not bad to pick up the Abrupt Decay there. Okay, so here we have the choice between another Jailbreaker or a Guildgate. I think I'm just going to take the Guildgate at this point. We definitely want our Jailbreakers to be able to attack, and we need the fixing. Gates especially are good for that. I would pick up a Seal of Primordium, well that's less important because we have a Sundering Growth. Other than that, there's not tons here for us. Jailbreaker probably won't come back around, but Guildgate's good. Okay. Kind of a hard pick here. Noble is probably better than Spectre in general, although Spectre really punishes slow draws from your opponent, and if we could use one of our Signets to get it out on turn 3, if they don't have a response to it, it can just really destroy your opponent's hand. I think Noble is better in more games though. It could also be correct to take Ground Assault because we are so light on removal right now. So a couple of choices. I've been really impressed by the Noble though. I think I'm just going to pick that up here. A lot of times your opponent just does not have a good way to deal with it. Even if you don't have sack effects to go along with it, it can just be very good. So we have a Jungle Shrine, which helps us splash. Right now we're not playing anything white, but it's still a duel. I don't think I want another Penumbra Spider. I just have too many 4-drops as it is. So yeah, I think that'll be the pickup here. You can see Pyroclasm being a good sideboard card, especially for this deck that doesn't have a whole lot of little stuff. But we don't have a ton that's splashing for red right now either. So let's take the Jungle Shrine. And bear in mind that we do have white available too. Here I think we'll take the Gruul Guildgate over a Revive and a Magma Jet. Again, the Rotworm is not crazy exciting. Kind of feels like we picked one up somewhere, but I guess we didn't. Yeah, we'll probably take the Guildgate here. Having good mana can be pretty important in the format, and I don't want to end up not being able to play all of our sweet spells. So Sunholm Guildmage is the best card in the pack by a mile. We do have one white source with the Pilgrim and another one with the Jungle Shrine. Now we can go get one with the Sylvan Ranger. So that might be the pick. I don't think I'm really going to play Revive in any form this deck comes together. So we'll play him. He may not end up making the main deck. We'll see. Might depend on how many playables we end up with and how greedy we want to be with our mana. I'll pick up a Ground Assault here though, and that's pretty reasonable. So we're kind of solidly in red right now. I don't feel as bad picking that up. Not much here though. We're not going to play the Scorched Salka, Madcap Skills, or Sky Knight Legionnaire. I guess maybe there's an outside chance we'd play Madcap Skills. Against some decks it can be pretty good. Well, against some decks it's okay. It's not even great a lot of the time, but I think it's better than the other stuff we have as options. Okay. We'll play the Selesnya Guildgate. That can help us get to our Sunholm Guildmage. And is another gate for the Ogre Jailbreakers, which is fine. Don't think... yeah, none of these are exciting. I guess I should take the Unflinching Courage. It's probably the best card in the pack, although it is still pretty bad. Getting blown out with that is just miserable. But alright. I guess we take a Scourge Devil. Probably won't end up being played, but maybe. And I guess I can is a Guildgate. And Molten Rain. Okay. Not opening up to the most exciting pack, although we do have an Augur Spree, which is fine and probably our pick here. I don't know. How deep are we in white? We have a couple of white sources. Maybe the Path is just the right pick. Path is quite a bit better than Augur Spree, but we're not going to be able to consistently play it early. I guess maybe we don't really care about that, though. Path is pretty premier. Maybe we'll just pick that up. It's worth thinking about the Rajah kind of low on creatures for Dominator Raid, so hoping to really hit some good creature threats as this pack goes on. So here we have a couple of pretty great blue cards in Wingsplacer and Agony Warp, but we haven't really taken blue to go along with it yet. Here we take another Gruul Guildgate and help our mana some more. Take a Ground Assault, which might just be the pick, or another Jailbreaker. It's funny, we have so few threats that aren't 4-drops though. Feels bad taking more Jailbreakers. We want some like reasonable 3s. And this set does seem to be high on 4-drops a lot of the time. So this is not the first time it's happened to me, but it's probably the first time I've had it quite this bad. Don't think we're going to really try for another color, even with the Izzet Guildgate. We would really want like another Sylvan Ranger to make it good. So even though Agony Warp I think is a better pick, I'm going to take the Ground Assault. Okay. So rewarded a little bit here with another Harmonize, which is yet another 4-cost card, but I think it's probably miles above everything else here. I think Burning Tree is okay, but we're actually not going to be going into anything very often with it, so it makes it considerably worse. Yep, I'm going to take a Harmonize over not tons else. Okay, so here we have an Orzhov Guildgate, which we could take for more fixing. Take yet another Ground Assault and just go to town off those. Dummy Raid. Okay, so it doesn't do anything unless it's a creature. Which is a little bit unfortunate. Don't really like playing the Bombers or the Lancer or the Macaw, even though those are our kind of creature options. You take Corpse Connoisseur, it doesn't do much, it can just get Scourge Devil at this point. Maybe we take another Ground Assault. We're such low on creatures, which feels bad. Makes Gruul War Chant a lot worse too. So I don't think we really want to pick up another one here. We could play the Urban Evolution at this point. Seems kind of slow in a deck that's already kind of slow though. I think we're just going to take yet another Ground Assault. I mean, it's a good card. And there's a lot of them that have been in these packs and we're getting them passed, so I mean, we're not sad about it for sure. Pick up an Avacyn's Pilgrim here and make it more likely we hit one of our 3s on, or one of our 4-drops on turn 3 over not much else. Okay. Here we have a Sylvan Ranger, which I think is a pretty good pickup for the deck. It's a creature for Domri, which is nice, and it also fixes our mana. And we are going to look like we're playing a solid 3 splash 4, so Rangers don't seem bad. I guess we take the Might of Old Krosa. In some matchups it's probably playable, but it's mostly we're picking that up because there's not much else here. I guess we should take the Boros Guildgate, actually, now that I think about it. Don't think we're going to play Might realistically, but the Boros Guildgate will probably end up being in our fixing. We have a Recover, which will let us get another creature card back, or another Boros Guildgate. How many white sources do we have, though? Quite a few, right? 1, 2... Yeah, I think we've got enough. We've got 5 already. And having multiples isn't bad with the Sunhome Guildmage, but I don't think we really need another one. So I think Recover's better. Getting one of our few creatures back is probably important. Oh, I think actually that might be a main deck card. Not much here. I guess we take a Traitorous Instinct. Seems like we wouldn't play it, but I think it's probably better than Giant Baiting most of the time. I guess Giant Baiting at some decks can be pretty good. Sometimes it's just a swing for 8 with a couple of Avacyn Pilgrims or the like to tap down for the Conspire. Not playing anything blue, so we don't care about the Guildgate. I guess we'll get another Cowern Fear. And I guess we take the Rumblebelt Macaw. I guess the Bomber is probably better if we're thinking of something we have to play. And I mean, we're as much red as anything else now, so. Pit Keeper or Trumpeter. I like Trumpeter better, probably. I think it's stronger. But, yeah, the Pit Keeper is actually never going to be on. But it's mono black instead of white. I guess maybe that's important. That's probably only ever going to get sideboarded in for us. I guess I'll take another Instinct. Or I guess the first Instinct, since we took the Giant Baiting before. And last pick, Slaughterhorn, is actually a welcome addition to the deck. Alright, so we've got a whole slew of ground assaults. It's probably going to have to be the picture for our videos we post. I don't think I've ever seen 4 in one deck. But it's not a bad card to have. We just plan on killing literally everything, and when we have 1 creature left and they have none, we win the game off that, right? Let's go to old-fashioned Magic. The sweetest victories are the ones where your opponent can't play at all, so... I don't really think this is a Scourge Devil deck. Getting the +1/+0, I don't think it's just going to matter all that often. And we're just not really aggressive enough to really make it work. I think we're kind of hoping to get value off Harmonize and just kill all of my opponent's stuff. We could play... I'm kind of debating playing 16 lands in this deck, because we have 2 Signets and 2 Pilgrims, and a couple of Rangers as well. And we only want to get to 4. Like, that is the top of our curve. There is nothing else that we want beyond that. So I think we might just play 16 lands here. We're not going to play the Is It Guildgate. I do think we want the Signets just because we're so low on 3-drops. We really want to get to 4. So even though they're a little bit questionable with a curve this low, I think they'll end up being okay. We really want to play either that or a Sylvan Ranger on turn 2 most of the time, I think. Let's see, what are we missing anything from our sideboard here? We're missing not much. I mean, we could play the Gruul War Chant, although we just don't have that many creatures is the problem. I mean, it could be a sideboard card if they're playing some sort of like Esper or Sultai deck and they just have a bunch of Seagate Oracles and the like. It's a little bit better if they have to use 2 creatures to block instead of just 1, but I don't think we have the creatures that really make the War Chant good. Yeah, I don't think anything else really needs to be in the deck though, so I think we're gonna look at land here. Is it Guildgate we're not playing, but I think all the other ones we are. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red or white sources. Do we want one that we can pick up with the Ranger though as well? I guess we'll see what everything else looks like. Let's see what Moto thinks. Moto does want 1 plains, a couple of swamps. I think we need more than a couple. It is worth noting that if we have green, the Sylvan Rangers kind of count as sources, although that's a little bit erroneous too. I think we want, right now I guess we have 5 red sources if we take the 2 here. I think we want a couple more red, maybe cut back into just 8 green sources, which seems okay. I guess it's true, we need to count our signets though as well. So we have 1 more green signet, or I guess we have 2 more green and 1 more red. Okay, that makes us look a little bit better too. So yeah, if we play like 3 more forests, 3 more mountains, that brings us up to 7 for red and 10 for green. And then we can bring in 1 more swamp as well. That brings us up to 5 for black. I wonder if we want to cut 1 forest for a swamp then. And then we're up to 6 black, not counting the Rangers, and 7 red, 9 green, and 6 white. I think we do want to have 1 plains in the deck because we want to be able to search for it. And having multiple plains sources isn't bad for the Guild Mage. So, okay, I think we'll add that to the deck. And I think our mana actually ends up being not too terrible, which is nice. Especially considering how wonky kind of our deck is. But I think if we hit green, then we're pretty set in a lot of ways. And I think this looks all right. Let's go into match one.